Today I'm making a Christmas card using a stamp set from Simon Says Stamps Festive Card Kit, designed by Christina Werner. This little Santa is really cute. I'm going to be colouring him in with my Copic markers. I've speeded this bit up because it did take a little while. I'm using R35 for the lightest colour, R27 and R29 for the darkest colour. I'm not shading too much, I'm trying not to add too much ink so that it doesn't bleed into his hat, into the white bits. Just enough to give it a little bit of dimension and make it look less flat. I don't worry too much when it's images like this because it's a little cartoon image anyway. I'm using the tipped marker technique to take a little bit of colour off the darker marker and blend it together. Here I'm just filling in a bit of the stamp that didn't stamp properly with my Copic multi-liner. Filling his face in with E51 and E11 for the darker colour on the sides. I'm using the R20 marker and touching it to the tip of the, I think it's R37, it's light rouge, to get a slightly darker rosy glow. The boots are being done with C7 and C5, and same for the gloves. They could be hands as well. Sometimes I colour them in flesh tones, sometimes as gloves. I like them as gloves myself. Oh, I forgot his ears. Now using a very light blue to just add a little bit of dimension to his beard and his other white bits. And blending it with the colourless blender. I'm doing his eyes with it in that, enamel accents. Did a little dot in the corner so that I can check to see when it's dry instead of poking my finger on the image. Now I'm doing the card base. I'm using an Anita's standard white card. It's a different standard size to the US, but I've just cut the mounts 1/4 inch smaller for each layer. This is just linen cardstock that I bought at our local scrapbooking store, Just Tracy's in Plymouth, while I was there for a crop this weekend. And I'm going to stamp the sentiment. It's Amy R sentiment, one of her Christmas sets. I'm just cutting it down into a rectangle because it's going to be mounted onto red card and the side is just going to be stitched with a sewing machine. There we go. Just putting some tape on the back so I can stick down those threads and cut off the excess. I don't like cutting it too close. This is some Bow Bunny double dot paper. And some raffia that I got at Tesco's after Christmas a few years ago. It's just wrapping paper, red raffia. I'm wrapping it around the end of that strip of paper and sticking it down with some tape. Now I want to add a jingle bell, so the raffia is quite thick to thread through the top. I'm cutting up vertically, twisting the end so that I can thread it through. and then tie it onto that bit of raffia on the end of the card. Trimming off the ends and adding some 3D foam, not to the end of the raffia because the raffia is actually keeping it up high as well, so it didn't need it there. Now we're ready for the little black dots on his eyes. Scary bit. There we go. Just wait for that to dry for a minute. And add the sentiment. I cut a lot of banners out of these papers. They're Dovecraft Christmas range, so that I'd have them to hand. Putting some 3D foam onto the top one. And now my little Santa Claus needs to be cut out. In a minute. Oh no, I'm doing the holly first. This is a CC Designs die. Really cute. Just stick that on, add a little bit of 3D foam behind the top holly leaf, and add on the berries. Now I'm going to cut out Santa. I'm going to use a craft knife just to cut little V's in the awkward bit of his boots. That way when the scissors get around there, that bit will pop out and I don't have to worry about it. I'm trying to be very careful because his eyes, that black bit, is not dry yet. Just cutting around him, leaving a white border. Moving the image more than the scissors. Just gently guiding the blades around the edge. Just tidying up a bit. And there he is. I'm going to pop him up on some 3D pads and add him to the card. Cut a little tiny bit for behind his bubble on his hat, and then I realised I didn't want foam on the bottom because he's going over the bit that's already raised up. Cleaning up the glue. Add a little rhinestone to the top of his hat. Using some Tombow glue for that, the Mono Multi. And there he is. Oh no, I'm just going to add some little dashed lines and colour around the edge of the holly leaves so they stand out a bit more on the green. And that's it. Now onto the inside. Just cutting a piece of card that'll fit perfectly inside the card. And using a piece of coordinating paper from the same paper range. I bought an 8x8 pack. And a little tiny strip of the Bow Bunny double dots that's used on the outside. And the sentiment that I'm going to add is from the same sentiment set. and I used 2 of them in different colours, so that I say we wish you a Merry Christmas, and I think it's best wishes for the future. No, I don't know. Got the card here. And best wishes for the new year, not the future. It's not a wedding card, is it? And I'm just going to add my name to the back. And there we go. That's the card.